think the plan for today is twofold. If we can, there's two different things that, they do in the markets when we get like this. You gap it up, some market's gapping up 1%, it sucks out all the range, and then they just grind it, and then it just grinds higher. Those are the trickiest days because that forces you to chase. When you get a gap and grind, the chase is on, and you're like kind of sitting there, like, is the rug going to pull, not going to pull? I find the gap and grind to be very, very tricky. Now, I think today, because we got a 1% gap up, don't be surprised to see like just a quick pullback at the open. You have all this support down here. And what that usually does is like, I see this all the time when the market gets a little bit oversold and extended to the downside in the context of its trend. You'll get like a quick spike down right at the open, and you end up sucking in some shorts. As everybody yesterday was, right, probably saw like how the market was just getting smoked. You'll suck in some shorts, and then next thing you know, like they rip it back. Seen that a million times, in the last, so many years in the market. Like when you get, after a few big down days, you get a gap up and everybody's like, ah, shit. And then you try to go to fade it, and it comes just right down, and you're like, here we go, I'm pressing on it, and boom, out of nowhere, you start to fly. So we got to be careful of that. I think that is a likely scenario due to how much support we have essentially on the market. You can see even on the S&P, you've got support. You got support down here. So, we could even drop like a little bit more. What we call is like a shake and bake, where you like drop below, right into the support, and then you kind of shake it back. I think that's the most likely option. If not, we could get just a gap and grind. Expect today 2 or 3 shakeouts. Yesterday was easy. Yesterday was an easy day to trade. There was plays all over the place, and you had range all over the place. I mean, you're not going to get this kind of range today. You get a trade like that, you get trades like that once a month, or once a week. It would be very, very hard to get that kind of range again. Today, it could be gap and grind or inside day. But I think we're going to find some plays, because you can see here, there's more than enough earnings plays to probably keep us busy. None of them look like A+, but there are a handful of them that are looking. Mr. Eater, where do you live? Sometimes, a lot of our Canadian customers use Trade Zero, but the American ones use the American brokers. So let's talk about this. M&K has opiate settlement deal. Q4 result beats expectations. Man, it looked like it dumped yesterday. It looked like they were going to be, going for bankruptcy for a second. Then now it's ripped back. This thing could go either way, but if you see here, like if it can stay out of this range, you have a 200 SMA right here. You can see it was rejected at the 200 SMA the other day. Yeah, I don't even know what that means, Andrew. You shouldn't know either, right? Right? Because it don't mean anything. But yeah, I think that you're right. I think it was just one of them, hence probably the pop-up. If it can hold over this 200 SMA, we're good to go. This thing could start to fly. You've got some room to go. At this point, everybody, in these kind of stocks, like once everybody knows it's a turd, then you have more upside, because it's like everybody already knows it's a turd. It could have the worst news possible. It doesn't really matter, because everybody already knows it's a turd. All right? So I think we add this to the list. I will not be trading any small caps today. Hey, Talita, how are you? I won't be trading any small caps today. There's more than enough stuff to trade around, and I prefer to keep my lunch. So no, this I will not be trading. I'm just discussing it because, frankly, a lot of you guys like it. Nio has earnings out. You got some upgrades too. Typically, if you got earnings out, you get a bunch of upgrades also. They tend to be, the earnings are not up. Is it just running on the upgrades? There must be some other news out. Regardless, you're coming out of this consolidation zone. When you get a tightening of range like that, where you're just like tightening and tightening and tightening that range, what you end up with is, if you can bust out of it, you can really have some fun. Watch this kind of 570 area. That could be a potential target today if it sets up. Remember, in general, when you're day trading, you never just buy because a stock has news out or it's doing something. What you have to do is wait for some type of pattern. At the open, you can take three patterns. You have opening range breakout. You have the first pullback buy, which is either to 9 or 20 EMA, or you could go red to green, green to red. You can only trade these type of three patterns. Anything else that you do at the open tends to be a little bit hokey pokey. You know, what you want to do is narrow down the stock you want to trade, and then you want to narrow down the intraday setup and align them. When you have that kind of alignment, that's when you can get a really powerful move and a powerful trade. So always be mindful of the intraday setup when you're looking at some of these things. mRNA's moving on some news. It looks like they've shipped their first batch of coronavirus vaccines for phase 1 trial. So it's not even like they're shipping it to China, right? It is just a phase 1 trial. These things can mean jack shit sometimes. You can sit in phase 1, you sit in all these phase trials for years, right? Like, so while the world burns over, they'll be in trial. So whether, does it do anything, not do anything, I don't know. But in general, like when you just have like that headline, like, hey, I got a coronavirus vaccine, you may get some pop on these things. I got it on my watch list, but I don't like the daily chart at all. So you can see here, it kind of looks like, you see like how it looks like a middle finger? I find in general, like when your chart looks like it's got a middle finger in that, we used to call this back in the day, what's that pattern? We used to call this back in the day the dreaded cock and balls pattern. Because that middle finger gets you all the time because you spike up and it just ends up being a lower high. So this thing would need some work to get going. Hey, Mr. James, let me take a look at that in a second. PRGO, now this one is clean. This one's clean. So you got a nice base here. Stocks that break out of a big base, you can see like how you got like this longer term base that's setting up for the last 2 months, and then this one over here. Stocks that tend to break out from longer term bases, they tend to be more powerful. They have a little bit more juice when they go because they're breaking clean. I think that this one's one to watch. One issue on this one that I'll need to see is, does it have any liquidity? We want to do this type of stock because it's a drug manufacturer. They ORB really well. So what I mean by ORBs, right? You pop up at the open, you need to see minimum 3 sideways candles in a tight range. Hopefully that VWAP, by the time it starts to tighten up, the VWAP will kind of crust under it and the 9 EMA will catch up. That's when you know it's ready. This type of stock is known to do that. Shake Shack's getting busted on earnings. The food stinks. No, I'm just kidding. I never had it. Looks like they missed some revenues. Volatile delivery sales amid Grubhub, blah, 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 blah. Ooh, sales miss, never good. Sales seen below street evidence. You got like multiple levels of support here. Man, this thing had a really nice kind of base breakout here for a couple days. You can see it was really looking beautiful, and then now it's going to give it all back. That's the problem. So base breakouts are very, very powerful, but you're doing them on, essentially downtrending stocks. So sometimes they just fade back. I think that this one's going to have a chance to fade off today. From what I can see, though, it's already down 14%. So you're going to have an SSR on it. When you have SSR on a stock, it means that you have a short sale restriction. You can't short it on the bid. So this one's going to be tricky to trade. There's going to be a spread on it. What I mean by spread is right that area, that difference between where the bid and ask is. If it's 40, 50 cents, it gets you in trouble. Why? Well, if the spread is 40, 50 cents and you market order the buy, say you buy 1,000 shares, you're already down $500 right off the bat. So what you have to do when there's a spread, there's a little bit more delicacy to it. You got to kind of scale out. Say you want to do 1,000 shares, you almost have to get in like 200, 200, 200 and into a pop because you can't short the bid. And you got to like kind of massage the balls on it to get it really where you need. And then you can go in and you got your position for the pop. Usually a stock that's got like this much of room though, when it's down, I'd rather it pop at the open and kind of hit this thing at the 9 EMA, 20 EMA and let it roll over. You're seeing those kind of setups a lot. So what I mean by like a rollover at the 9 EMA, 20 EMA, if you see here like Tesla, this is what you'd call like we call this the first pullback short, quick pullback short. So you get a gap down on a stock. So stock has some news out, you just get gap down. And then it'll squeeze at the open. and this we use this every day. It'll squeeze at the open. So you're starting to squeeze, and to see like how you get a red candle to hold right at that 9 EMA, right? So what you want to do is you short it, and then you put the stop over the 9. That's how you limit the risk. And then you want to, like, your final target will be back down into the low of day. This will give you a very nice high reward setup with very, very minimal risk. You get a high reward setup with minimal risk. So you get the pop, you get a red candle to hold at the 9, short, set your stop over, and then you get your final target back over here. So ideally, right, you want to cover some at the VWAP, and then, cover some near low of day. That setup works like a charm. So on a trade like Shaq, see how you're getting the gap down on the news? Same setup. You let it gap down. Let it start to squeeze at the open. Once it taps into the 9 EMA, wait for a red candle to hold. Take your short, set your stop, let her rock. Does it make sense? Good. And junk. Now, we'll take that one off the list too. Both of those are junk. This space is going to be in play today. I believe, and somebody's got to check for me, I believe their earnings are after hours. I didn't see anything pop up, even though it says here 225. It could be post-market. This thing had a monster squeeze into the close. Dude, you can't ignore this. So you always want to look and see how a stock closes. Like, how did it act end of day? We all know that the best action in a stock is doing what? It's usually at the open. This thing squeezed end of day. It held at the 9 EMA on the daily chart. Man, Brad Young, we call this Brad Young Day. He nailed this thing in the chat room yesterday. Man, this thing was super hot. It's got earnings out, so it closed up $6. It's holding at the 9 EMA. You got earnings out. I think this one's going to trade back and forth today. It's not waiting for us. I would have preferred it not to gap up so big. 9%, hard to chase it up. Let this thing pull back at the open. Watch that VWAP 9 EMA. Once you start to see it hold there, you may get a shot at this one. I like it with the caveat that, I don't want to be chasing this one due to the fact that it's already up so much. And, it works way better. When you have like a stock that's really volatile, it works way better if you can get it somewhere before the momentum really picks up. Because once the momentum really picks up, then you're forced to chase into these big candles, and it's hard when you get $1.75 candles and you have to chase into them. Because if you have 1,000, say you have 1,000 shares, your P&L would, it just fluctuate, $1,000 every second. No, nobody holds into earnings overnight. Never good. I mean, this is not going to even have earnings, so I guess earnings not going to matter on space. How many people have they flown out to space so far? None, right? So they're not going to have any earnings. They don't matter. Not to mention, this company is... Hey, TC, if you wanted to hold it overnight, right, we were talking about hitting this for a swing at 11. That was your swing entry. You could have had a swing entry at 20, but you can't have a swing entry here. Hey, Amit, what's up, baby? This is TC 2000. All right. Bam. All right, let's cruise in. This ZM was hot yesterday. I've seen it all of my life. So I was reading at post-market, the ZM popped hard because it's a coronavirus play, because I've seen it all. Because people are leaving their house and going to be using Zoom communications a lot. This sounds like the stupidest thing I ever heard. But it popped. They made it a coronavirus play. I have seen it all. Where's my Bulls hat? I have seen it all now. But regardless, the chart was hot. It gapped down at the open right into the 9 EMA. You see that? And then you went red to green. I mean, that's a $12 range. Good Lord. All right, $12 range on this. I think we got to keep this thing on watch for a couple different reasons. Number one is If you look at its daily chart up here, if you look at the daily chart here, you have your IPO highs like right here. And it's struggling under this level, but we're starting to break and hold over it. Like this is a good chart. There's only a handful of these kind of hot charts that are holding up like this. Market was down 1,000 points yesterday, it still finished green. That's called relative strength. You want to find stocks that have relative strength, that have really hot charts after a big down day. Those can be the new leaders, the new ones that lead the way. This one looks fantastic. It's fantastic. It's great, people. The Zoom video, okay, is going to change everything. Okay, so people are dying of the coronavirus, but it does not matter because you can Zoom video your loved ones and get everything that you need. Okay, this is a fantastic company. It's fantastic, okay? Hey, Rav, Trading Sim is just like a market replay simulator. So it's like if you want to replay the market at night and do some practicing, that's essentially what it's used for. All right, let's take a look at BYD. Looks all right. This is not my cup of tea. The chart broke. The chart's been broken now. Like, it's probably due for a bounce. But I think there's hotter ones out there, brother. So let's go back. ZM. This net. This is an IPO stock. You had a breakout, a nice, easy pullback. Fairly low volume. Fairly low volume on the pullback. When you have a breakout, right, so you get 3, 4 green candles, and then you pull back to the 90 EMA lower volume, that's actually, that's bullish. What you want to see on all your pullbacks is a low volume, orderly pullback. Frankly, if it can hold this area, this to me even looks like a swing trade. What I mean by swing trade is a multi-day trade. This 22 breakout is coming. It's imminent. The earnings are out of the way. Looks pretty good. SDGR still got the hot heat. Went red to green yesterday. You had their $12 range. Pulled back to the VWAP, $6 range. This at this moment, you got to make it as like a daily trader. This thing's just got all sorts of heat on it. This one's a nice mover. I won't worry about Tesla. ENPH. I think we need one more down day on ENPH. This one's setting up. You had that monster earnings push over here. As we're pulling back, like watch this particular area over here. If it can hold there, I'm watching any dip on this one. If it can hold over that 90 EMA, I think that we're going to have a secondary push in this. You can see this chart is just amazing. Man, this thing was like $2-3 last year. Still cooking. It's still cooking. I don't like the location on it for an ad right now, but if we dip down even a little bit today, watch for like a red to green on it. I think we'll get a play on this bad boy also. What you think? Yeah, good. Yeah, it's looking like a buenos. Good. Yeah, you guys love mRNA, huh? It's all right. I don't know. It's all right. I just don't like this daily chart. Like, it's just, that's what's bothering me on it. I don't like the daily chart on it. It's stressing me out. The news looks fine, and you know what? It's not even a big float stock, so it's a biotech, which we always want. Yeah, it looks all right. It's a 50-50. It's a tweener. It's a penis in between us. You're riding in the middle of the backseat of your buddy's Volkswagen, right? You're getting a ride, but it ain't comfy. You're getting a ride, but it ain't comfy. That's for sure. Yes, Roku is pushing too, up $5, but it's just gonna run into this resistance, Then what? See that, Corey? The Chin Dynasty, baby. The Chin Dynasty. Yeah. It's down 1, 2, 3, 4. So frankly, it's due for a bounce, right? Because it's down $40. The gap ruins it. If Roku had gapped down today, I would have longed this thing with some size because Your lower Bollinger Band, you're oversold. If we had gapped down to like say 100 spot, damn, like we would have, even a little bit, we would have had that most epic shred. But this gap takes us right into resistance. Where do we really go from there? You know what I mean? Good. TVTY, huh? Yeah, I mean, TVTY, I'm not sure on this one. 15 was a big breakdown. I think I'd let this thing kind of pop back into 15 and then probably try to fade it off around there. It's not there just yet, though. I'm 50-50 on that one. I think the plays for today, let's just go back over them. If you like small caps, this MNK looks like it's ready to go. Nio's got some news out. PRGL looks clean. You got a big base over here. As long as it can hold over 61, this one's going to have a chance. Shaq's fading off. I wouldn't worry about Katos or whatever. Those look like junk. And then on the natural side of things, SDGR and ZM are the top. If the market starts running hot, like real hot, I'll take a short in this TVIX. If I short TVIX, that means I want to short TVIX if I think the market is going to run hot. Does that make sense? So when the market fades off, TVIX goes up. You can see here, like just nice trender. Nice, easy. This is what you want to see on these kind of gap stocks. You push, pull back to the 9, and then you ramp, right? Pull back to the 9 and then ramp. It's a very, very simple trade. If the market starts to run hot, this is going to fade off. You may see this thing start to drift back, into the low 50s relatively quickly. It tends to fade off into this area. It did have a nice close on it. I won't short this thing at lows. I make that mistake all the time. What I want to do is hopefully get a little bit of spike into this thing at 61, 62, and then try to roll this thing over. If it rolls over and they grind this market higher, this thing's going to have a $10 range today. Same thing, we've got JNUG here. We cut the very nice short in it yesterday. Man, I almost held my last few shares the whole way down. The last few shares I think I got out 92.80s. That was a sick range. I think we're gonna get a day 2 play on this, but you can't. The gap down ruins it. You got 9 EMA support at 86. That's probably where it gets down to. Watch for any spike on this one. We can look for a reload on the short. Anything into this congestion zone, I think, will work fine. That was hot. That's what you want to see when you have kind of a double top short. You want to see that kind of range. That's why you trade some of these names. But you got to be careful not to scalp in and out of the move too much. Hold for the real move. 200 shares. If you can hold it, even those last 200 shares, you make a couple G's on it. It's going to work out pretty well. Keep JNUG on the list. It's a daily trader for us at this point. The chart is awesome, but you can see here this is a second test. What it needs to do is always use some creativity. It needs to come back into the 90 spot, hold, and then curl back for the third test. That's when you'll start to see it break. Overall, the structure of this is pretty nice. I think we just get kind of a couple days of pullback. I won't short it down here at 90 because the support's too big. But if it does pop, I'll still look to refade this bad boy. INTU looks okay. You're starting to get some range on this one. I think there's just better names out there in terms of what I personally like to trade. So I leave that alone. What are you guys all watching? Lyft. Man, this is a broken chart, to be honest. It is due for a bounce. You got a reversal candle over here, and you got a little bit of a gap to fill. But counter trend is really tough. In a market where there's so many trenders, going counter trend is not necessarily anything we need to do. COCP. Yeah, COCP looks okay. If you like small caps, this is probably something that has all sorts of range. You can see here, right? You got pop, pull back to the 9, and then go. You can do these kind of trades, guys. That's a classic. That's actually the best setup you can do with small caps, so you don't have to chase them up. Let them pop, come back, right? Once they get over that 9 EMA, hit that 9 EMA, and then they start to really kind of push it, you get a nice type of trade. That's the only time you really want to trade these small cap guys. Is if you can get that set up, you're good to go. If you don't, then it's going to be a little bit more tricky. Pan W. Prognation, motherfucker! What are you doing? I think you had Pan W also. You know, it was a little. I had bad luck on this last time I tried to trade it, but the setup is there. You can break under a lot of support. It is down a lot though. The SSR is going to be on it. Prognation, you got to let this thing squeeze a little bit and then roll it over. Let it squeeze and then roll it over. Right? When I say let it squeeze, we want to see this. Like when the SSR is on, ideally, now it's more a matter of patience. Like, do we get it, right? But what you want to see is a push, pop into the EMAs, and then you want to take a short. Anytime you guys are shorting something with the SSR on it, you know, look for that kind of setup. It works a lot better. I don't believe, because SSR is a stock thing. Good. Guys, hot market. Yesterday was a lot of fun. I do not anticipate the range that we had like yesterday. You know, I wouldn't say we overtraded yesterday because we were winning, but we were trading a lot yesterday because the range was there. Don't be surprised to see today as an inside day. Don't force the issue. An inside day means like you had a big range the previous day and then you get kind of stuck inside the range of the previous day. It's a very, very tricky day. Usually after a huge hot day, you can often get a little bit of a grinding day. If you start to see yourself over trading or pushing it and it's not there, it's more of a market thing because you're digesting this move. Sometimes, you know, you don't get back-to-back like really easy ones. That's just always how the markets have been. But we've got more than enough shredders to do so. Let's have some fun. Let's go do what we do. Let's make it happen.